Long before there were pharmacies, there were healers. Mothers, fathers, and neighbors who turned to the earth for wellness. Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Each week we explore the plants, traditions, and time-honored remedies that connect us to that ancient wisdom, so you can bring it into your modern life.
Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast. So today I want to talk about one of Dr. James's 5 pillars to health. You know, mostly when people think of health, they think it's physical. If you eat right, take your herbs, do your exercise, that's health. But there's another one, and if you look at Dr. James's logo, the muscle man with health across it, there were 5 words on there: diet, herbs, vitamins, muscles, and attitude. A lot of people wonder, what does attitude have to do with health? Well, it has a whole lot. We have lots and lots of stories of people that attitude made a big difference in their health. So attitude really is essential to health. So we can talk about the 5 things real quick just to cover them. So diet, a decent diet. If you're eating horrible, you're not going to be healthy. If you don't have herbs, which is nutrients, herbs and vitamins are nutrients, the things that our body needs to keep it healthy, you're not going to be healthy. If your muscles aren't moving, if you're not exercising, anything like that, you're not going to be healthy. So, attitude is definitely a part of being healthy. It's not some soft off in the woo-woo stuff. It is the biology. It has a major effect on our body. So the other day I was talking with Jessica to illustrate how attitude has an effect on people. She said over the years, Dr. James would quite often ask, can you emotionally handle getting better? And, when you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, I want to be better. I don't want to be sick or whatever. And she said, it's surprising when people would say, no, I can't handle being better. Being sick is my identity. That's who they are. So that being sick and the attitude surrounding being sick is their identity. And that was part of the effect of them being sick. As long as they were sick, they get what they want, or they get to live the way they think they should live, even though being healthy is a much better way to live, have that quality of life. Quite often people talk about quantity of life and quality of life. So, when you think of people that are in their 80s or 90s, but they're in a assisted living home or a nursing home, can't get out, can't do anything. They've got quantity of life, but is there a real quality to that life? And that's why we do what we do with the herbs and everything, is we want that quality of life. So that's the attitude part of it, is to bring in that quality of life. Let's talk about some of the effects attitude has on our bodies. So bad attitude, bad stress, chronic stress. If you were always talking negative about yourself, basically our body requires certain nutrients our nervous system uses certain nutrients, the B vitamins, the C vitamins, magnesium. It uses those nutrients for all sorts of things. So when we experience stress, it increases the use of the B vitamins and the magnesium. The adrenals go to work. There's a lot that goes on in our body, and it starts using up our stores of those nutrients. And as we burn through those nutrients, then our body, if we don't have enough, then our body can't cope with it. That's a lot of the reason why formulas like Nerquilizer, Chillin, the CEO, those feed and nourish the nervous system so that our body can cope with, and our mind can cope with whatever's going on, or that we have that mental clarity to do what is needed. So let's talk a little. I mentioned several of the nutrients that our body uses. So first off is B vitamins. The B vitamin, all the B vitamins, they're the fuel for the nervous system. They're what enables the nervous system to communicate with the nerves, like throughout our entire body. And it's the fuel that helps move the nervous system. So the nervous system is it's like a bunch of beads on a string. And these beads are surrounded by like a mucous membrane, a sheath that they're covered in it, and nervous impulses actually go on through that sheath across from bead to bead to bead. It's not connected. They're all separate beads. So as you use up your B vitamins, that fluid that surrounds those beads is not as conductive to electricity. The nervous system is actually an electric system. So when you get a nervous impulse, it's actually an electric impulse that goes through our body, and the B vitamins is what carries those electric impulses through the liquid surrounding those beads. So anytime we're stressed or there's other thing, where the nervous system has to take up the slack, it will burn through those vitamins and use them up. And then if you deplete yourself, whether it's chronic stress, like your lifestyle is stressful, or there's a major stressful event that like prolongs and goes on for a while, those kind of things can suck up all your B vitamins, and then your nervous system has to like rebuild it and come back from that. So I talked a little bit about vitamins. So let's talk about minerals. So minerals, we've kind of talked a lot about minerals, but so the minerals that have to do with our attitude and stress, the main one is magnesium. So calcium is for the flexing of the muscles or different body parts. Magnesium is for the relaxing of it. So anytime we become anxious or overwhelmed, or we're reacting to something, basically it sucks up all of our calcium in our body, and everything gets tight. Your body gets ready to run, it gets ready to move. Well, if that is prolonged for a long time, your body starts using the magnesium. It's like, okay, let's relax. It starts pumping magnesium to the muscles and to the different parts of the nervous system. It's like, okay, let's pump the magnesium in and we'll relax everything, calm it down. Let's bring it down. The danger's over, the stress is over, whatever's going on, bring it down. Take it down a notch. And so it's pumping magnesium. And if we're still under stress, we're still in a stressful environment, then your body's pumping the magnesium, but you're still wanting to be stressed and uptight, and your muscles are clenched, and so you're burning through magnesium, and it's not doing you any good because you're not ready for it. So whenever we're extremely stressed, we burn through magnesium really fast. And once you're burning through all of your magnesium in your body, well, then you can't relax and you can't calm down and get to a better place in your emotions and your attitude. So our bodies are made so that whenever we hear negative thoughts or a negative attitude, it takes our body and puts it into fight or flight. It's like, okay, so there's something negative going on, whether we do it ourselves, self-talk when we say, hey, I can't do this, or not capable, or, whatever that negative self-talk is, that puts the body into fight or flight. It's like, do I fight with this or do I run from it? What do we do? And if it's internal, you can't get away from it. But the thing is once your body goes into fight or flight, your digestion shuts down. So basically your body's like, okay, we're going to have to run. We're going to have to do some major work here. We don't want to be spending energy on digesting food. Our bodies see that when we're in fight or flight mode, it's like telling us, look, we don't have time right now to spend energy on fighting off disease. We'll do that later. So your immune system shuts down. and your body's like, I'm not going to fix anything right now because we're running. We got to go. We got to move. But if we're living in a time and a place where we have all these negative thoughts and it's pretty much constant, the more you're having those feelings and those things, the more your body, like, it becomes constant, which means it shuts down digestion, shuts down your immune system, shuts down being able to repair yourself. So you're basically, if you're working towards being healthy, but you're always in that state of fight or flight, your body's like fighting, and it doesn't have the wherewith, the bandwidth, the ability to work on being healthy because it's working on getting ready to run. You know, what an interesting thing is, whenever we get extremely angry, so if somebody does something and you just turn massively angry, your entire immune system shuts down for 8 hours. So if somebody upsets you at 10 in the morning, your immune system is not turning on until 6 o'clock at night. So all day, no matter what you've been exposed to, your immune system is turned off, basically. So that's where having a good attitude really makes a difference. So let's look at the flip side of that. So that's all the negative attitude. What about positive attitude? A positive attitude, intentional attitude, basically that turns on that parasympathetic nervous system. So you can actually relax. You're still using the magnesium and the B vitamins, but your body doesn't burn through them really, really fast. So once that parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, you're resting, you're relaxing, your body is like, oh, this is a good time to rest. That means we can put work into rebuilding, repair, anything like that. And it says, oh, this is the time to digest food. So, it's the opposite of when you're upset or have a negative attitude. When you have a positive attitude, your body's like, oh, it's time to repair itself, rest, relax, digest food. So it gets those body systems working. So when you have that positive attitude, it basically, the herbs will actually work better because your digestion is working. You've got everything flowing correctly so that the nutrients in the herbs can get to the different body systems where it can heal itself, which makes it really, really handy. So, we've talked a lot about the negative, but the positive is where all of the magic in our bodies happen. When you want to have optimal health, having that positive attitude is what will help make healthy happen. So we talked a bit about the herbs, but let's go over them again. So we have Nerquilizer, which nourishes and feeds the nervous system. It's a wonderful formula for anything that has to do with the nervous system and rebuilding it. Chillin, it has lithium, which basically it allows the impulses to pass into the brain, so it calms you down, but it also allows for a better cognitive ability. We also have CEO, which it's got some of the Nerquilizer, some of the Chillin, but it's also got parts of other brain herbs to help with cognitive ability. It helps with relaxation, but it also helps with the mind and keeping the mind active and keeping it moving. And then B and C complex. So we talked about the B vitamins. Whenever you're stressed or whatever, you burn through those B vitamins. And Dr. James always talked about there's good stress and bad stress, and the body treats it the same. So, if you're extremely excited about Christmas or a birthday party, or you've got a hot date this weekend or whatever, your body still will treat it the same, and you're going to use up the B vitamins. So it's always good to keep them replenished and keep them going. And then we talked about magnesium. how it helps the body to relax, gives the body what it needs to digest food correctly, it to rebuild correctly. So minerals, that's kind of like that's what the body runs on. That's the building blocks for building the body. But like we were talking about, if you have a negative, the herbs are going to help one way or the other, but the herbs are much more effective if you have that positive attitude. And that's why it is a pillar in Dr. James's 5 elements of health. That's one of the elements that you have to have health. So like I said, we're living in a time when there's all sorts of things that can be in our face that make it hard to have that good positive attitude. So let's talk about some tools. There's a tool that a friend of mine has developed that's called the Prime Compass. I've kind of mentioned it here, there, and in pieces and stuff, but I kind of wanted to go into detail about what is the Prime Compass and what does it have to do with attitude and health, because I've been using this Ed's compass for several months now. Like, I've lost track, but it has completely shifted my mental self-talk. Like, it shifted how I think about things. Just it's a really, really great tool to help you optimize that attitude so that it's working for you and not against you. So pretty much the compass that Ed has, and he has several different versions. So he's got versions for, there's the Prime Compass, which is just the basic compass, but Ed has worked in military and first responders and all of those, so he has one for them. Ed has also worked with men in their 50s to 65, 70, and that is right now 45 to 70 is actually men, is the highest demographic of suicide. And that's kind of what prompted all of this. Is Ed wanted to give them a optimization framework, a tool that can help them cope with all of the things that they have going on, so that suicide is not an option. We always want to help people find another way around it. And that version is called the War Horse. Ed's working on one. He's got one actually for marriage and families. So people that have, that are wanting to work on their marriage or on their family relations, this compass is built towards that. So the compasses, there's several of them, are just amazing. He's got one for single moms, and he's constantly working on different versions to help people cope with whatever situation they're in. So the cool thing about these compass tools is that it's a framework, but it helps you see patterns in your life that you can see it on your own, so you make better decisions and manage your attitude, that personal internal attitude, intentionally. It's just amazing to think about a tool that can help you manage your attitude intentionally. So the way it works is it uses Claude AI to be able to work through 6 areas of your life. It's physical, spiritual, social, emotional, intellectual, and financial. And so it's using Claude's AI, and, basically you have got all of the learning of everybody throughout all of time. But then Ed has built this optimization framework that pinpoints it down to these 6 life areas and helps you see blind spots, helps you see patterns in your life. And what's really cool is these 6 areas of our internal life, our physical, spiritual, social, emotional, intellectual, and financial. They're all interconnected. If somebody is not feeling well, like if they're physically sick, then they're not social. their emotions go in the toilet because it's like, how can I be happy if I'm not feeling well? So they're all interconnected. One messes up everything else, just like in our body systems. If the liver is having problems, your digestion is bad and your bowels are bad. If your pancreas is having problems, your attitude stinks. You have no sugar, nothing, no energy. So our bodies are connected. If the nervous system isn't working, you don't feel pain, or you do feel pain. It's just the systems are connected. So in order to fix one, you have to kind of like fix all of them. And the really cool thing about the compass is it helps you see these 6 patterns in your life and work on them all at the same time. So like Dr. James would treat body systems, not diseases and not symptoms. It was a system of the body that he wanted to build up and strengthen. The compass treats your life systems in the same way. So I think that's why I like the compass so much. So the compass, basically, it helps you see the patterns in those 6 areas, but it also helps you find blind spots in your life. There's certain things that we do within our life that they're blind spots. We miss them, or how we see things around us. And these aren't really personality flaws. They're patterns. We all have patterns. We all use these blind spots in different ways, but once you see them, then they don't control your life. So the first blind spot is reactivity. A lot of people make decisions out of fear or anger or stress, or, a good example. The other day we were at Costco and we were trying to decide, do we need another case of toilet paper? Because the Costco case of toilet paper is huge. Or do we wait because we have enough for another 2 to 3 weeks? So, we're getting close, but we don't absolutely have to have it. And there was a woman standing there and she's like, well, there was that warehouse full of toilet paper that burned down. It could get scarce. And so without thinking, Lynn grabbed the toilet paper, stuck it in the cart, and we bought a case of toilet paper. We made a decision it was a reaction. We reacted. It's like, oh, well, if we're can't get it next week, we better get it now. So sometimes those are, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but being able to recognize that reactive kind of thing is kind of it's a important thing to recognize in our lives. If we're making decisions out of anger and not working through them, and the compass will help you to work through your decisions. And it even has a 60-second reset. So you stop, breathe, and it asks certain questions to see if you're making a decision out of reactivity or if it's the proper decision. So it's a wonderful tool within the compass. So the second blind spot that the compass helps you work with is misattribution. To look at something and blame external things for something that's internal. A great example is, I'm so exhausted. And I'm exhausted because it was a long day at work and the traffic was horrible, and coming up with all these external things. Maybe you're exhausted because you don't have enough B vitamins in your body to run your nervous system. So your body is like pulling your last stores of B vitamins. It's something internal, but you're blaming it on external things. The compass will help you see if you're blaming the right places and looking what you can give attribution to what you're trying to deal with. So the third blind spot is it helps you see what is draining your emotional energy. So like I talked about, the person that says they get home exhausted because their work is hard and traffic and all of these other things. But are those draining? Are you physically tired or are you emotionally tired? And the compass will help you figure out where that energy drain is coming from and what what's causing it, and then it's up to you to fix it. But at least you know like where it is and where it's coming from. And whenever you hit that emotional drain, that sucks just as many of those vitamins and minerals out of your body. So there's three main tools built into the compass. There's a morning calibration, which you do each morning. You say, let's run my morning calibration, and it will look at your energy, see if there's anywhere in your life that needs attention right now, anything that you need to work on. And then it gives you something to work on for the day. It's like, okay, today we're going to work on this one thing. So for me, when I use the compass, it's like, okay, these are the things that are pressing. Which one is the most pressing? Which one do you want to work on today? And it's really a great way to start off the day is to, get that calibration, to see what I'm going to work on for the day. And that's been part of what really helps it make me work better throughout the day. And then there's an evening calibration. So it's like, look back on your day, what worked, what didn't work, what did you learn, how is your emotional energy? It's like looking over, like if you do the morning calibration, did you do that one thing? Did you get that thing done? So it really helps you start the day off and end the day with a calibration and a reflection to put bookends on the day and to see how you're doing. And then the third tool that's built into the compass it's called the knowledge decision framework. So basically when you have a decision that's creating stress or, draining your health, draining your emotional energy, you run through the knowledge framework. And so it asks you several questions to walk you through making a decision, and then you're making a decision from a good place, from a place where, you're not reacting or attributing your decision to other things or attributing it to whatever's draining your body. It helps you make decisions in a great way. So I really, really love the compass, and I love using it. So I've been talking about the compass, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, so, well, what does something like this cost? I mean, that's got to be crazy expensive. And when my friend introduced me to Ed, I was like, whew, that's going to cost me, but it'll be amazing, and it'll change a lot of what I do. So what would it be worth to you? How much would it be worth? And the cool thing is Ed is doing this from a place of wanting to help people out. So he has life coaches and consultants that actually get to give the compass away for free. And it's not that if you have it's a nice thing to have on your phone or your computer or whatever. But if you don't use it, it's not going to change your world. And so there's not a financial cost to it, but there is a time cost. And it is so worth it. Worth every amount of time that you put into it. It is amazing. So I've talked about attitude and how it is one of those 5 elements of health. Dr. James had that on there because he knew attitude is essential to health. And I love getting to share the compass with you because the compass is a tool that gives you a systematic way to look through and to bring your attitude from one spot to multiply it by 100 and move it to the next spot. It's just a great way to work on that emotional attitude element of health that will move you forward. So, and then we talked about, the herbs that Nerquilizer, Chillin, CEO, B and C complex, PM minerals. Those will replace what is being lost from everything else. But by using the compass along with those herbs, it's like taking your life where you are and multiplying it by 100 and just, a lot of people in the business world talk about, well, you'll 5x if you do this, you'll 10x if you do that. If you take the compass along with these herbs, you will 100x your life. And I mean, is it worth it? I certainly think so. So if you want to get the compass, let me know. And I can get it to you. Because it's set up on Claude AI. There's some steps to walk through to get it installed on your device, your phone, or however you're going to use it. So we want to walk you through those so you get it set up correctly. And that's why it's contact us to get it. And the herbs, you know where to find them. They're all on the website. They'll be linked in the show notes here. So it has been great talking with you, and it's been great getting to share the changes that the compass has brought to me. And I will look forward to talking to you next time.
You've been listening to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast with Jim Applegate. Visit drugfreehelpstore.com to download your free Healer in Every Home guidebook and explore herbal formulas that support your health naturally. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who loves natural living as much as you do. Thanks for joining us, and remember, true healing starts at home.
It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.